Well, welcome, folks, to Tuesday at 7. It is Tuesday here in April 2024. This week was a double feature, but we are outside here. If you guys are familiar with Northeast Ohio, this is Medina Square, and we're walking into Cool Beans that has a working kitchen, and we're going to go ahead and check out Triskell Bakery. Alain, and he's going to walk us through the arts and science of baking. What's going on? And I'll tell you what, here's what I will tell you, is that this is going to be a fun interview, another interview with a live audience, and there are some really great giveaways that are occurring too, so we appreciate you guys joining us today. Well, I'll tell you, it was a handful of weeks ago that we had kind of a live studio audience, and that was out at Parlor Farms, and Tony is here as well, and so we are excited to have another 6 or 7 people here live as well. And
yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Alain, for coming and teaching us the art and the science behind baking, and we're really excited to find out what's going on. But as I'm walking in here, tell us where we're at and why we're here.
So this is Cool Beans Cafe. We're right off the square in Medina. And the owners, Laura and Ben, offered to host some classes, and same thing with tonight. I'll offer to host this podcast. So this is where I teach a lot of the classes, and so I do sourdough and I do croissant baker.
And there is, I can smell, if you guys were here in person, you'd be able to smell that there is something already going on here.
There is. So I wanted not only to have this opportunity to talk, but also to showcase maybe some of the few things I do. And so I made some croissant and some pain au chocolat, some chocolate croissants. And in a few minutes, we'll load a couple of loaves of sourdough bread. So it's going to smell pretty good.
Yeah. So for those of you who are joining us today, we gather every Tuesday. We bring a bunch of different artists from a bunch of different mediums, and we're really glad to bring baking to you. And you're bringing some knowledge and from Paris, and also you were a food scientist at Smucker's.
That's
too.
Correct,
and so there's things going on there.
Yeah, so I've been in the U.S. for 33 years now. I came as a 24-year-old food sitist. I was working for a French company at the time, and then didn't move to Medina right away. We lived up in Cuyahoga County. That's where I met my first wife, and then a move to Smucker brought me to Medina. So I've been in Medina since 2000, and I did after the French company, I did a 25-year career at Smucker, and recently retired, and I was not very good at retirement, so I started something else.
Started something here magical as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what. I know that we're going to do a really fast, press the gas. You got some things going on, and we want to go there, but I know that there's folks here waiting for the Gaudi Zamir giveaway as well, and we're going to do that here just as soon as something settles down. I know that we've got croissant, we've got bread that goes in the oven, and we are going to encourage you guys to share too, because if you share and your name is drawn, there is something of great value, not just artistically, but of monetarily. What are we giving away?
That's correct. We decided to donate 2 classes for the person who will win the drawing next time, and it's going to be a class for 2 people. So whoever wins and a friend or somebody of their choice for 2 classes, to either a sourdough class or a croissant class, and that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, that is a great giveaway. So in case you've never joined us before, in the very bottom left-hand side of your screen, there's a share button. Mm-hmm. And when you press it, we know it, right? And when you press it, we encourage you to share to a group. We encourage you to share to your friends. If there is a baker in your life, press that button and share it to them as well. But if you share, your name will be put in a drawing. And actually in 2 weeks from today, we're going to draw the winner of those 2 classes. Okay. So you got 2 weeks to share. And we're really excited to hear out what's going on.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. The time is going, so I think we're going to take I'm going to see if the croissants are ready to be taken out of the oven. And
Beth, you want to come over here and peek at this?
Oh yeah. So So the proofing time was not enough a little bit for those, so they split a little bit, but I guarantee you they're still going to taste fabulous. So yeah, so the croissant and the pain au chocolat. Pain au chocolat means chocolate croissant in French, so the process, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but the process is 2.5 days long. So I started this the night before last, and here we go. So and then whatever is not eaten tonight, you guys get a chance to take a few samples home.
A great incentive to be part of the live studio audience tonight.
Exactly, absolutely. So maybe we'll start putting the bread in the oven right away. So I also made a batch of sourdough bread. That also takes a 2.5 day process. So that also started the night before last. And this basket here is called the Banneton. And Banneton is also known as Rotform, which is a German nomenclature for those.
Say that again?
Banneton, Banneton, Banneton. Banneton is the baskets. They are rattan basket with line rattan basket that we use to proof the bread. So after the mixing, the fermentation, we shape the bread, which I'm going to show you also in a few minutes, and then we let them cold ferment. So they are fermented for 14 to 16 hours in the refrigerator. So I kept them chilled just until now. And then so we're going to unmold them from those baskets, load them in a cast iron Dutch oven that's in the oven right now, decorate them, and I use those little stencils to adorn them with a kind of little personalization of the bread. And then we'll score them and put them in the oven.
In the oven. You said proof the bread, and is that the cold fermentation proof? Are those?
So proofing is a similar term as fermenting.
Okay.
So there is bulk fermentation on the counter, a little bit like this. So I'll give you a quick shot of the dough. So you see all those big bubbles there. That's evidence of fermentation. So that's buildup of carbon dioxide in the dough. So the natural ferments, which is wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria, develop the dough. The bacteria and the yeast consumes the starch and generates the CO2, as well as acidify the dough to give it that flavor, that sour flavor, and to give the air pockets in the bread.
Yeah. For those of you who are joining, we are with Alain. We are at Cool Beans, but we're talking about the art and science of baking. You're sharing with us, sourdough dough. And we're going to get back to croissants. We're going to get back to where we're at, and I know that we have a kind of a timer to get these loaves in the oven.
Absolutely,
right?
We want to get them in the oven because it takes about 40 minutes, and those are fairly large loaves. So let's do that right now. So I use parchment paper because it's easier to transfer them from the basket to the parchment, and from the parchment into the Dutch oven. So the baskets are lined with flour, so that makes it much easier to release them. So, and here we go. So that's the first one. And then, so this one is a boule, which French word for a round loaf. And this one is a batard. And kind of an oval loaf. So those have been...
That fabric has a very specific purpose, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It helps really so. But still, besides the fabric, I also sprinkle it with flour. Some people do it with semolina, especially at a pizzeria. They use a lot of semolina on the floor of their ovens. So if you purchase or if you try some of the bread that I make, that's pretty common in France to have a little design. So I use a stencil. So the stencil goes on the bread, on the loaf. And I use this very cool little, whenever I do a class, people say, oh, where do you get this? And my answer is like on the biggest marketplace. For, I won't make any publicity here, and I just sprinkle it.
Does it keep anything?
Actually, it's listed as a flour sifter on that big marketplace, and then gently remove it. And if you want to zoom in, so that's what it looks like. Powdered sugar, that's great too.
I don't want to drop the camera in there. It
And
looks beautiful.
So for the second one, since we're in Medina, my sister-in-law Melissa made those stencils for me, and so we have a variety of different stencils, and so we have one of the Medina gazebo, and here's the second one.
So you're just sifting that, and then a fast lift. You're just sifting that flour right on top of the loaf.
Right on top of the loaf. You want to do this before it goes in the oven because it's raw flour, right? So you want to make sure you have the proper kill step. Kill step being the pasteurization. So getting rid of all potential microorganisms that could be on raw flour. You have a risk of having pathogens potentially. So now the bread is ready to be scored. And for that we use I use a little tool. It's called une lame, and lame in French means a blade, but it's basically a scoring tool. And there's multiple ways to score the bread. I do very classic. So I go. It's only a motion from my forearm. I don't do it from my wrist, but I go like this, and that's swift, rapid. It's fairly deep, and then for the round loaf, I like to do like a square shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and hopefully the Medina will stay intact and lift up. So now we're going to take 2 of those gloves.
I want to make sure I
Yeah,
stay out of your way.
You're fine. And then we'll make a little bit of room. And Tony, if you can set up the timer for 20 minutes. And for those, I brought 2 different styles with me. One is a very affordable cast iron Dutch oven that I bought another major marketplace. And the reason we're using Dutch oven and cast iron Dutch oven is that they retain the heat very well. So when I bake the loaf for the first 20 minutes, it's going to be with the lid on. So I just lift it like this and deposit it in the cast iron Dutch oven. Put the lid back on, and for the second one, do the same thing. Put the lid back on, and those are going to go in the oven. So yeah, this one is local. This one is a French one. It's called the cloche. Cloche means a bell. It's a shape of a bell. And so those are 2 different styles of vessels that you can use to bake bread. And yeah, it works great. So, and I've get equally good results with either. So 20 minutes starting now, and so 450 degrees. And so with the lid on, what's going to happen is that it's going to maintain the steam within the confine of that vessel, because those residential ovens do not have a steam injection feature. So you need to find a way to maintain the steam within that vessel, at least for the first 20 minutes. What's going to happen is that it's going to help the bread get a nice, glossy, shiny surface. It's going to help also with the crust development. So basically those little particulates of moisture will deposit back on the bread and gelatinize.
So that's why we mentioned it's the art and the science, because there's important things here. Now, the scoring, was that to help release some of the moisture so you can capture it in the cooking process, or something else?
No, that's a good question, but it's really to create a weakness within the bread so that as the temperature rises in the bread, the yeast will continue to be active up to a certain point. So the bread is gonna rise in the oven. When you saw it, it's fairly flat. When you see it coming out, it's gonna have quite a bit more volume. So what's happening is there's pressure building, and if you didn't do those scores, it would crack wherever it can from the weakest point. So we create a weak point on purpose, and that's going to help the bread open it at that point, hopefully. Cross my fingers. So,
Gotcha. Well, we know that there's folks joining. We encourage you to share, and we encourage you to ask questions. Even if you're not joining us live, feel free to ask those questions. We're going to be putting in some websites. We're going to be putting in some opportunities. In a week, there is a few spots left in one of your classes we're going to talk about. But before we do that, now that the bread's in the oven, we got a timer for 20 minutes. Let's give away that artwork. So if you were with us last week, I'm going to keep it over here just in case we get any hot spots. But we interviewed Gadi Zamir. Gadi Zamir is an artist down at Negative Space down in Cleveland. Phenomenal artist. Yeah. Born in Israel, came over here. His work is striking. It's large. It's in your face, and there's a great story behind it as well. But for everybody who shared the interview last week, your name is in this hat. And if your name is drawn, you get the Gadi Zamir autographed giveaway.
Right.
So
sounds great. So
go ahead.
I get to do the honors.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. This is the one. So you want me to read it?
Yeah, if you would. If you can read my chicken scratch.
If I can find my glasses. All right. So the winner is Tessa Le Baron.
Tessa, thank you.
Le Baron.
I know that Tessa and Gadi do some collaboration work too, because some of their collaboration work was there as well. So,
congratulations, Tessa.
Thank you, Tessa, for let me grab it because I'll forget about it and I'll put it in my pocket. Thank you for sharing, Tessa, and for those who shared this week, there's some two spots for a class for you as well. So thank you for that. And again, your shares are what gets the word out. And so every single time you share it, potentially could get to 100 or a couple hundred people, maybe a couple thousand folks. So share away. Should we talk about the croissants or continue talking about the sourdough?
Maybe we can talk about the croissant because I think you may want to try and have one as well as we talk, right?
I think so.
Okay, so croissant, just like sourdough, it's a 2.5 day process. So during the class, my class is 3 hours long. I wanted the students to be able to experience every aspect of the class. So and there's been some adapting to improve the flow of the class. But when students come in after a brief introduction, then we start right away in doing the shaping of the croissant. So in order to be able to do everything in a 3-hour class, I start the process 2 days earlier. So I make the dough, I laminate it, and then when we come to class, the students will stretch that dough, take their own half part of the dough and shape it into triangles that we use to make the croissants, or in rectangles in order to make the chocolate croissants. Making croissant is not hard, it's just time consuming. So if you want to have a good croissant, you want to give it the time. You want to try to, and you may not get the perfect croissant on the first try, but the more you do it, you learn, and you learn from your mistakes. And that was the case for me. My first croissant was not like this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, not only do I expect that they're going to taste great, but they look look like something you probably see on the cover of a magazine or a book too.
I don't know about that, but no, it's I don't know. I think they're still maybe. Actually, I think they should. If you want to try them, so can I just
pass it around?
All right. Okay. There you go.
So you're using a lot of French here.
The technical terms, it's because a lot of the origin of viennoiserie, or which is the name for. I'll say you one that. So the origin of pastry is is French. So the name.
We got this little small one here. How does that sound?
Oh, you can have a bigger one than that. I'll take that. There you go.
So the name of this type of pastry in France is called viennoiserie. Vienne is the name of the Austrian capital, Vienna, and viennoiserie is derived from that word. Verdict?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yes, there's a lot of French terms. So the different steps of making the croissant, the dough is referred to as détrempe. Détrempe is the dough that you start with before you encase it with the butter. The butter layer is called beurre de tourage. Beurre de tourage is butter block. Butter block. That's what you make a block of butter, which is about maybe a quarter of an inch thick, about 7 inches square. And then, so you spread your dough, and then you fold the dough over the butter, and that's what you'll layer. So that's the part of laminating the dough. So you start with dough, butter, dough, and then you stretch it and you fold it in thirds. Then you'll end up with dough, butter, dough, dough, butter, dough, dough, butter, right? 3 layers. So you go from 3 layers to 9 layers. And then an hour later, you do the same thing but the other way, and you fold it again. Now you have 9, 9, 9. You have 27 layers. And you do it a third time, again, turning a quarter turn, and then you fold that also in thirds. So 27 plus 27 plus 27, you end up with 81 layers. So, and in this croissant, in the very thin layer that I used to roll them, there were 81 layers of butter and dough.
So that's why you have to prepare long ahead of time. So if somebody comes to your class, I mean, you've been preparing and for days.
Okay. I mean, a couple of days. Yes. So you make the détrempe, and the butter block the 2 nights before and the day before. So I did the class this morning at my former employer, and so I did all the lamination yesterday, and the class was from 9 to 12 today, and I came home and made those for tonight. So,
did you learn your baking back when you were in Paris, or was that something that you picked up, or is it kind of a fusion of back there and here?
It's a fusion.
Okay.
I grew up, so Triskell, the name of the bakery, Triskell is a Celtic symbol, and which is prominent in Brittany, which is where my family is from. I was born in Paris, and I went to school in Paris, but all my family, both on my mom and my dad's side, are from Brittany, which is the westernmost part of France. And my family is from the north coast of Brittany, so it's the Channel. It's opposite the British Isles. So there's a lot of interaction between Wales and Ireland and Brittany, from culture and food and music so my family, both my parents grew up in Brittany, and my mom's twin sister owns a bakery. So when I was a kid, I would spend my summers going to the bakery and working with her, going on delivery runs with her, which that itself has several stories that are pretty funny. And during my brothers and cousins would go to the beach, and I would go to the shop, and I would sell bread from the shop. And then at night I would go with my uncle and try to stay as late as I could. I was 10, 12 years old at the time, and try to stay at night. And I was telling Tony earlier that just the smell, the shaping of the bread, the sound of the mixer, and all the steps in the process, I can still picture it, because it had such an impact on what I loved. I love to bake. I love to make bread. So coming here, I didn't start baking right away, and it was maybe 15 years ago that I started to bake seriously. Sourdough being one of them, so way before it was popular. But I made baguettes as well. I made croissants. I made ciabatta, focaccia, and then since retiring, I've upped that a little more and try to introduce new recipe, new product. Luckily, so far, people have been responding very positively to it. So,
what was the experience like, or maybe the motivations of your move to America?
Yeah.
Was it the parents? Was it driven by you? Did your parents come with you? Did your family? Or?
No, I came by myself.
Okay.
I was 24, one-way ticket, one suitcase, and I'd never been to the U.S. before. And but I worked for a French company in Paris that offered me this opportunity, which was 3 years. So when I think I told you on the phone when I met with my boss that night, I said, 3 years in America. I said, when do you need an answer? He said, take your time. You just give me an answer. But if you don't want to go, I need to know tomorrow. So essentially, I made that decision overnight. So, but I think right before I left his office, I knew I was going to do it. So and moving here, at first it was like I was like a kid. Just everything was kind of familiar, but also different from the culture and now the language. I spoke English already, but my accent was pretty strong at that time. So.
What the heck is food science? Yeah, tell us. Yeah, did you see that?
Go for it, Tony.
Yeah,
there's some chocolate ones out there too.
Oh yeah, sure. Should we
may
pass the
want to
chocolate
cut
ones?
those in half because I don't think we have enough for everybody.
Enough? Yeah, let's do that. So what the heck is food science anyways?
So food science is a food scientist's role. A food scientist's role is to develop new product for food companies, and I worked for Smuckers for 25 years, and that was my role. I was developing product. I worked on the human food side of the business my entire career, but it was working brands like Smucker and Jif and the more recent Uncrustable peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you develop the formula, you develop the flavor, the texture, you evaluate the shelf life, make sure the product is safe. So you work on the process, make sure that you have the right steps in your process to ensure that the consumer will get a safe product to consume. And we work a lot with our marketing team. So marketing would give us guidelines on what they wanted the product to be like, and we made modification iteration. So I went to school for food science in Paris, in France, and your class scheduled organic chemistry, mineral chemistry, industrial physics. You have food microbiology, biochemistry. So a whole list of disciplines that are designed to make you become a food scientist.
So you could work at a place where probably hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people have tasted some of the products that
I've made.
That you develop, right?
Yeah, I worked a lot when I started on
Actually, Beth is going to say that. And we see layers there too, right?
You see the layers. And and then each chocolate croissant has 2 bars of chocolate. So,
what kind of chocolate? And Beth is, I'm trying to read her mind. She'd be like, what kind of chocolate is on the inside of those chocolate croissants?
It's a French brand. It's the brand I use, and obviously people they take the class. I give them all the information. But it's a French semi-sweet chocolate that has 44% cocoa, and it's a big stable chocolate, so it's not going to melt. You can see, I mean, the core of the croissant, of the chocolate croissant, was really hot, but the chocolate did not melt away. And as it cools down, the chocolate will regain some of its crunch and texture. So,
have you ever done it with Rotella?
Actually, some people have told me they've done it with Nutella. Personally, I never have. A friend of mine did some with a Hershey bar, and surprisingly, I think it's better with the French chocolate. All right, pass it around.
Oh my goodness! I'll tell you what. Had you guys known that you'd be getting fresh pastry.
That's why we came.
We would have had a full house here.
French pastry.
We are kind of already a full house here.
I was hoping.
Beth, are you gonna grab one of these? I think you can grab one.
We'll save you. Let's save you some.
All right.
Do you have any, I don't want to say regrets, but in some of the food products that you've worked on and hit, like you talked about Uncrustable,
Yeah.
are there any that you're like, oh, I can't believe that worked and is out there? Like if you think about how many thousands of kids are eating Uncrustables.
No, I think my regrets are product that we developed that we knew were outstanding, and for one reason or another did not succeed in the marketplace. So, and you know, there's several, like long time ago as well as more recent, some examples of product that we developed that so I wish this product was still in the market. And sometimes it's too early for its time, and sometimes it's you know, price point, sometimes it's you know, a multitude of reasons. So I don't have regrets on the product that, oh, I can't believe we launched that. But it's more of a, I'm sad that this product is not on the market anymore.
Do you have another question, or is there
I was
anything?
going to say, are there any like that you think might get pushed again and maybe hit the right time? Like do the companies, not just Smuckers, but do companies hold on to those and then try and re-release
Yeah, it
them?
happens. It happens. Some product or some trends. So it's funny because we would look back at some of the work that was done maybe 15, 20 years ago and say, oh, this concept was proposed 20 years ago. So things never die. Like you cannot kill a good idea. And that was the title of the book of a class I took a long time ago. But so it tends to regenerate. Also, the idea sometimes based on, sometimes some ideas 20 years later are not relevant anymore because things have changed in consumers' habits or their diet or even the availability of the ingredients. Think about some product like a partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, things that PHOs are not allowed anymore, right? So there's some product that probably would not come back in the same form, but maybe with some modifications. So.
You had mentioned earlier about the experience you had as a child in your aunt's bakery, right? Your mom's twin sister.
Yep.
And the delivery, some of those other things. I mean, there was a hook there, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That you came back to, here,
Sure.
post. What was that hook?
So I had a job in a corporate, in a corporate world, but I always loved to do, the aspect of the art, So I had the sciences on my day job, but I wanted to have a little bit more of the creative aspect. So, I was kind of a late bloomer because a lot of my hobbies started not that long ago. So I brew beer, and I've done that for about 20 years. I make pizza. We have a pizza oven at home. I started woodworking a couple of years, 3 or 4 years ago. So I knew, but when I was gonna stop. Okay, can we?
Yeah, let's stop right here and
hold that thought for a sec.
Hey, Beth.
And actually, I'm going to take those out so to show you what it looks like after 20 minutes, and you can smell it too.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, you cannot smell it through the phone. But I'm going to show you really quick what it looks like. So that's the Eiffel Tower one.
Oh yeah.
So this is called the ear, like an ear, right? So the cut I made, see how the bread pushed up this way. If I had not, it would have
It would just bulge out the side.
It would
right?
bulge out the side. Yep.
That's beautiful.
And you guys saw before we showed the Eiffel Tower.
And then there you go. So the Medina gazebo. is prominently on display. So. All right. So now, so the bread is not done yet. So we're going to put it back in the oven for another 20 minutes, and Tony's going to run the timer for that. And that's what's going to happen is, essentially in the bakery, halfway through the bake process, they would vent the steam. And venting the steam will enable the bread to continue to develop a thicker crust. And so if you had sourdough before, you know it's a chewy, tender inside and then a crunchy outside. That's what we're looking for. So now we're going to put the bread back, and we're going to wait another 20 minutes. And then back then, right now it's at 7:30, so right before the class, so we'll be able to see what this loaf looks like before we're done.
So we will end our Tuesday at 7 by pulling out the sourdough.
Some sourdough from the oven.
So if you were not watching from the beginning, it was capped. These Dutch ovens were capped,
Yes.
and now you're putting them back in there without the covers.
Exactly. So just to enable the bread to continue to develop its flavor, to develop a nice crust, and and we'll see what it looks like in 20 minutes.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining. Remember, you can ask questions now. You can ask questions later. We're going to be putting a few resources up as well.
Yeah.
And thank you to Cool Bean for having us. If you guys are hearing a little bit of noise in the background, we're at a busy coffee shop here in Medina, and this is a place that many of us hang out at when we're here.
We have one question right now, which is, she asked what flour do you use, and I would imagine you use multiple flours. But do you have a specific brand or?
Yes, I do. And again, I'm not endorsed by any brand, so I use King Arthur flour. I've been able to get very consistent result with them, and I've got a friend in Akron who owns the bread's bakery there, and I've been able to buy my flour through him. So 50-pound bags at a time. So because I use quite a bit of it now. So I use a variety of flour, like you said, Beth. I use some medium protein as well as high protein. I do have also some cake flour for some pastries, some cakes that I make. But essentially, I use the all-purpose flour and then bread flour from King Arthur. And historically, I've tried different flours. And actually, Smucker had some flour brands up in Canada. So Five Roses and Martha White and White Lily. So there was a variety of different brands that Smucker had. So I tried all of those, not all of them on baking, but I've tried all those flours.
While we're on the topic of flours and some different things and higher protein or whatever, I know that there is a big concern, dietary restrictions that may have changed some of the things that you've done. Talk about that.
You're talking about gluten, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of people have experienced discomfort, intestinal discomfort, and I'm sure there's a host of other symptoms that go with it. And luckily I don't, thank God, because that's what I use every day. But some people are either celiac or gluten intolerant, and some have decided that they feel better by not consuming the gluten. So there's a host of diets that are focused on reducing the gluten, and and I know some people have asked me, how could you make a gluten-free bread? Could you make a gluten-free sourdough? Honestly, this is not my area of expertise. I have some of them.
Listen, if your sourdough has gluten, right?
My sourdough has gluten. Yes, I joking that I should have a bumper sticker that says I heart gluten, and I may still do that. But no, it's for the bread I do, and I do it a very traditional way, the way that my family made it 50 years ago, and it's wheat flour, and it's wheat, water, and salt. Essentially, those are the three ingredients that go in the bread. So there's more opportunities now for people who have those intolerances and that are celiac or that choose to observe a gluten-free diet, and the food industry has responded to those requests. And now, even today, the options are much better than they were just 5 or 10 years ago in terms of being able to replicate the texture, the flavor, the rise in the oven. And a friend of mine, and actually, so this is Shannon Colozzi, and she's in Wadsworth. She's a baker as well, and she's developing a gluten-free starter and she's planning to make some gluten-free sourdough bread. So I've told her that whenever her starter is ready and she's ready to take orders, I will send customers her way.
The chemistry, we've been talking a little bit about the chemistry, maybe certainly for my, ignoramus, baking brain. What are we missing in terms of the science of it? Because, there's a whole lot of art. It feels to me like there's this much science, this much art. Is my proportions off, or are my proportions off?
No, I do it more of it's an art now. It's an art. I'm trying to get the flavor, but also to get the visual aspect, the openness of the crumb. But a lot of my coworkers at Smuckers, it's really not only it's the art because the experience of the consumer, but also it's also the science. It's about for them it's different. It's making a bread that would be consistent in its texture and its the crumb, the density of the crumb. It's for other people it's the shelf life and how long can they get the product to stay fresh. My bread is very different. After a couple of days, there's no shelf life extender in the product I use. I don't use any dough conditioner, so that bread is stales fairly quickly. So from the it is both an art and a science, and I think you need to have a little bit of an understanding of the science and combine that with the art in order to be able to continue to make improvements.
Yeah.
How is your starter behaving? Is it flat?
Can you explain the starter? What to a layman? What's the starter? What's that mean?
Sure. So when you make a baguette or any type of bread, you can use a commercial ferment like a commercial yeast. But sourdough is made using. Now again, you can also use additional commercial yeast, but for many bakers, it's using wild yeast and natural bacteria that are in our environment. So, and that's why you have people that have a starter that's 10 years, mine is 15 years old. Some starters are decades old, and probably even longer than that. And so, basically, it's the wild yeast that you have in the air around you, and the bacteria that deposit on the flour that start to feed on the flour and start to multiply. But after a while, if all of that food is gone, well, the yeast is gonna start to either decompose and start to you're gonna start having bad, so to speak, bad microorganisms to take over. So you need to continue to feed it to create this symbiosis between the good bacteria and reducing the ones that are going to make your starter fail. So it's very simple. You can blend flour and water and just loosely cover it. Don't make a tight lid on it. But after a couple of days, you'll start seeing bubble forming, and that's the yeast in the atmosphere that are feeding on that flour. And
even with it covered,
even slightly. There are billions of cells right around us right now, right? So the fact of just mixing it, that would be enough for, probably millions of cells, if not more, to deposit on your container. And then, I use a jar that just has a glass lid that's not even twisted on or torqued. So that way that then enables the gas to be able to escape naturally. I put a lid on to prevent dust and other particulates to get back in. But every 24 hours, I feed it, and actually I feed it sometimes every 12 hours. Just and that's the cycle. Every 12 hours, the yeast present in your starter consumes most of the flour in there, and you'll see it. I don't have one with me, but if you have it in a container and it's maybe an inch or so, the next morning you get up and it's about 3 times the volume.
Is it aerobic or anaerobic?
It's aerobic.
So you feed it when you stop feeding it. How do you stop feeding it, or do you never stop feeding
You
it?
never stop feeding
So
it.
you can't put it in the fridge and have it.
Yes, you can put it in the fridge. If you know that you're not going to bake for a long time,
Okay.
you can give it a feeding, let it get a start on the counter for like a couple of hours, and then you put it in the refrigerator, and it's going to be good. I've kept mine in the refrigerator longer than a week, and as long as you don't have a foul smell or like a layer of a liquid on top that starts to look, not a
Suspect,
clear,
right?
it starts to look suspect. Then in that case, then say, all right, it has gone bad, and then you have to start again, unless you donated a sample to a friend who can regift it back to you, which happened to me.
So if you like go away on vacation, like a dog, you have to have it fed like once a week. A friend comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to be gone for more than a week, then yes, I would probably ask someone to come and feed it for you. I feed mine twice a day, so I joke that when I feed my dogs, I feed my starter. And so.
We have about 5 minutes, I'm guessing. Is that about the time that we have left before pulling this back out?
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Perfect. So we got a good amount of time. But that bread so interrupted us when you were midstream about back when you were a kid.
Yes.
And you were with your aunt, you were delivering, and there was something that hooked you
Yes.
to come back to it decades later.
Yeah, and so I think part of the hook was I wanted to do something with my hands. I wanted to be able to produce something that was more than what I did at work, and so I always loved to bake. I've done this for about 15 years, but for me it was the aspect of creating something from scratch, and with very simple ingredients to make something that people enjoy. We haven't talked about it, but also the aspect of I see bread as a way to connect people, and for the longest time, every loaf I made, I gave away. I didn't sell it, and it was not until 3 months ago that I started doing that. But it was to maybe share a little bit of my heritage, but also to, like a new neighbor would come on the street, I would go in with a loaf of bread and welcome them with a loaf of bread. I think to answer your question, it's the being able to create something with my hands, the using the bread as a way to communicate and connect with people, and more recently, it's the fact that I love to share what I know and share what I do, and the classes has been a perfect addition to this little adventure that I'm on.
Yeah. Is it the goal for Triskell Bakery to put a loaf in every bakery in every city in the United States, or is there something else?
It's something else. It's I want to maintain the quality of the bread that I make today. And when people come back, like Penny comes on a regular basis to the bakery or to the store, and to buy the bread, to me that's a testament of quality and the fact that they enjoy this. If the bread started to become more of a commercial kind of entity, I would not be interested in it. I want to, and there's also the fact that I want to be able to make it myself, so that it's a signature of what I've made. Now, if it starts to be made by different people, I don't think that would be something that would be fulfilling to me. So no, the answer is I'm not going to expand it to I'm not looking for a retail space. Possibly a commercial place where I can experience more different processes and donate more bread.
There's something to gifting, right? Okay, go ahead.
You've got quite a following of groupies now. 90% of these are women. How does your wife deal with it?
Well, you know she's watching. So
That's a great question.
She's,
Right?
I mean, she's very. I'm married to someone who's. She's got my back. She's supporting me. When I decided to retire, she said, "I want you to be happy. I want you to do something that you love," and she would continue to work and carry the burden, and that's what she's doing. And the reason why I'm able to do this, and even being here tonight, is because she's at home and she's holding the fort. Yeah. So, and it's funny because I joke with her about some of the stories and people that I meet, and she kind of sometimes she rolls her eyes and oh, here we go again. We go to a restaurant and I see a group of women. It's like, it's too bad I don't have my business cards. I would hand them out and potential new customers. But no, she's been extremely supportive, and I love you, honey.
That's well played.
There's an important need for a supportive spouse, right?
I would not be able to be successful if I didn't have the support at home, and I know that for sure. So.
You not only do you gift bread, and because there's people that are bouncing in, and might be catching here the last 5 or 10 minutes. You're gifting the knowledge. Are you a little concerned that you might give away the knowledge, the secret sauce?
There's a couple of recipes I will not share. Some product that people are really interested in, and people have asked me, "Oh, would you share how to make the pound de Cajun?" And I said, "No, that's the secret sauce." But you can go online and you can find out a lot of information, that things that I've said, and probably people would say it much better than I do. Which I'm fully well aware. Some people have done this for far longer than me. I don't think I'm giving away any secret sauce because all that information is available publicly. I think what I'm offering is a form of entertainment, right? And also the fact that when people see it takes 2.5 days to make croissant or 2.5 days to make sourdough bread, it's like, oh, I'll continue to buy it from you, and But I think they enjoyed the experience of being in a class and to sometimes just meet other people here, and so no, I don't think I'm giving away anything. And if anything, teach them to fish. If people come to class and send me a picture of their bread or their croissants, I'm happy. There's plenty of opportunities to teach other people, and so no, I'm not. It's not worried about. Actually, can I say something about this book?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a book called The Perfect Loaf. So if anybody who's listening is interested in starting a sourdough, this has been the book that I've been really using the most. It's written by somebody called Maurizio Leo, and I friended Maurizio about a year ago online. Started asking him questions, he responded. So we've been doing this back and forth. Really cool guy, and this book won the James Beard Award it's his first book, and you can find the website by the same name, The Perfect Loaf, and he's fantastic. The book is really, really good. So if someone wants to look into starting making sourdough, I highly recommend it.
I'd recommend that, and we'll go ahead and put that. And Beth might even be putting that right into the comments right now, and so you guys can press it and take a look at that.
So the bread is kind of we have 1 minute.
1 minute. You were talking about classes. We know that in 1 week there's a class with a couple spots, we believe, but there's other classes you take. How do people find you and join you for the experience of something like this?
So the platform I use the most is Facebook. I don't have my own website, but I use Facebook. So if you go on Triskell Bakery, basically that name, on Facebook, and every week I post any new information, like where I'm going to be selling bread, and if I'm not, the classes I'm doing or the events that I'm attending. And in terms of classes, it's on Eventbrite. Same thing, Triskell Bakery on Eventbrite. And also, when I do post new classes, I announce it also on the Facebook page. And I started branching out. I'm not a TikToker, but I know we talked about this.
Yeah.
And I opened a TikTok account, and I'm trying also on Instagram. So I'm trying to get the name out there, and so far.
Well, we will absolutely push your content. First of all, because I love sourdough. Okay, so as we're getting the last 3 seconds, let's pull this out, and then we'll do a couple final questions.
A little hot?
Oh,
Look at that.
So I also brought my thermometer, because every loaf I make, I check the internal temperature of the bread just to make sure it's safe. And I know I had my thermometer here. It's a different. Oh, I know where it is. Right here.
Keep your thermometer warm.
No, because I was using the Lodge as a proofer, so I turn it on for a few seconds. So this is a digital thermometer, and so I try to not to be too intrusive, but I go to the core, and you can see it's 209.5, and anything above 195.
What's ideal?
Anything above 195.
So you want to pull it at 195?
No. What's ideal for me is when it has the right color and the right amount of crunch. This will be very crunchy.
Okay.
We could have taken that bread out probably 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
It would have been a lighter color, a little more golden. It would still have been about 205, 206. And I'm saying it by experience, right? I have not made a single loaf that was not and this one is same thing, 209.5. It's actually 210, close to 210 now. So, and that's something that I do on every loaf I make, every batch I make, just to make sure that what I sell or that I donate is safe. One more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I do a class and we do sourdough, students go home with a loaf of bread, and they also they start making a batch. But that batch, I finish it at home. But when I finish it at home, generate quite a few loaves. I don't want to sell that bread because I didn't make it. But it's still as equally attractive and tasty, and I donate it to there's a little cafe just 2 doors down here. It's called Cups Cafe, and it's a free meal. This way?
No, it's around.
No, this way, right there, across the street, right on North Court in the dino. So free meals, so people that need a little bit of help can go and get a sandwich or get a loaf of bread.
So more gifting of knowledge, gifting of bread, and gifting for people who are hungry too. So thank you for that. In terms of last question, we'll kind of shut down. I know there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to want to try to share. If you share twice, we're going to put 2 names in. So share 2 or 3 times, right? And up your chance for sharing. But in the meantime, do you have a favorite? So for sourdough, like what is the perfect item, the perfect dipper, the perfect what? Is it what is the perfect thing for sourdough?
Olive oil and balsamic vinegar. So, and actually, we've got friends down the street here, the Olive Tap.
The olive tap.
How about charcuterie?
So,
That goes well.
Charcuterie goes really well with it.
Well, and of course, and
I
charcuterie.
have
But
a
it's a
chocolate
dipping,
olive
it's a
oil.
dipping,
Oh.
right?
We did take
Yeah.
it.
Ooh,
I'm sorry?
I have a chocolate balsamic at home.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh.
Well, that's
I'll have to bring that on
that's pretty
Tuesday.
good. No, when I bring a small bottle of olive oil so that we can try it.
Yeah.
So yeah, olive oil. But
Absolutely. A cornichon, the gherkins, and then some ham, some cured meats, and butter, salted.
Salted butter. Well, thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge, your artwork with us. We're going to be following, and thank you guys, everybody, for joining in. We have our live studio audience for the taste and for the knowledge. And again, we're going to push this out. So there's a couple spots left next week. You guys have a chance to jump in.
Yes.
And then we'll keep a pulse on the other things that are coming on as well.
So how do you want people to reach out to you then?
Yeah, they can. They can reach out to Roger, and Roger will connect with
Yep.
me. But
Yeah.
we're
Or
pairing
even
it with
to reach out to me as
charcuterie,
well.
so it's a whole evening of learning what you do with a little bit of meat on the side.
And
Very
then
exciting.
it's BYOB.
It is BYOB, yes.
If you're interested, just connect with any of us, and we'll point you in the right direction. And again, Alan, thank you for sharing tonight.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, everybody.